What up, guys? Kevin here. So I didn't expect my Monday night to be a back and forth with Dan Stapleton, who is the IGN's executive editor of reviews. So I think that means, I don't know if he reviews, but I think he signs off on the reviews before they go live. So if someone writes a review, goes to his desk, and he goes, yep, run it. And I think that's why he took my tweet a little bit personal, to the point where we had a pretty good back and forth tonight regarding the Shin Megami Tensei 5 review, which I did a video on. I thought it was a bad review. I thought the reviewer didn't respect the audience's knowledge of understanding what a Shin Megami Tensei game is. Just the more I think about it, like Shin Megami Tensei 5 is exclusive to the Switch. So even that, like, it's going to be exclusive to the Switch audience who doesn't have a Persona game besides Persona Strikers, which is not a mainline Persona game, or I would even put to the that great of a Persona game, like a Persona mainline series game, which is pretty damn great. So yeah, just the more I listen to that review, I'm just like, there's a good review in there, but just stop bringing up Persona. It's okay to bring it up and say, hey, I understand you might think it is like a Persona game, but this is where it's different. Persona is story and characters. Shin Megami Tensei 5 is more on the gameplay and combat. And then you judge or review Shin Megami Tensei 5 from there on its own merits, like every other reviewer did. But that's where I took issue. I think that's where, 19,000 downvotes as the time of recording. Over 2,000 comments, pretty much saying the same thing over and over, like, shut up about Persona. I don't know. And just somebody just watching that review, it just obviously comes off as an entity reviewing a game and not a person reviewing it. And you expect, like, a corporate entity, well, what's popular? Persona. Let's just review it. Compare it to Persona. And Dan Stapleton, who works at IGN, thinks that's very fair. I think it's fair to an extent, but they went about it very wrong. And I tried to explain it to him, but he did the game where he just played dumb. He just played stupid. Now, to be fair, he came in a little heated with the tweet that wasn't even about Shin Megami Tensei. It was about reviews. And I came a little heated, so obviously from there, from the get-go, we're not going to see eye to eye. We're just not. It's just, hey, fuck you. And I'll just go over the tweets here. No ill will towards him. You know, I treat him, anyone that works at IGN, as there's IGN itself, the evil corporation that we all hate, and then the people working at IGN. I'm sure most of them are good people and don't mean to put out bad reviews like Shin Megami Tensei 5. No, just a couple things they needed to change. That's all. I'll get into that. So he put out a tweet. This is where it all started. And I think Broken Games HDR retweeted this because I don't follow Dan. He said, I pledge to quit my job if anybody can offer any credible evidence that IGN has accepted a bribe to give a review score high or low. Spoiler, I'll be at work tomorrow. Which I know people have issue with IGN thinking their reviews are bribed or whatever. I don't care about that. Of course, on my mind, Shin Megami Tensei 5 review. What the hell was that? So I tweeted back at him, how about you fix your Shin Megami Tensei 5 review? Shout out to Broken Games HDR. Kind of hijacked his Twitter feed. I think he turned it off. I don't know how that works. But I hate doing that. That's why I don't really interact much on Twitter. Just because I hate being that person. But I went there tonight. So he tweeted back, looks like it's working fine to me. And right there, I'm just like, yeah. If 19,000 downvotes and all those comments just screams, looks fine to me, well, that's IGN for you. I tweeted back, those downvotes and comments tell me otherwise, but you do you. So that was just me, just kind of trying to end it because I knew, like, all right, I got his attention. It was kind of one of those, like, oh my God, he responded back. Not really too much. There's been times where I'm like, oh shit. They tweeted back at me. This one was like, okay. All right. I don't really feel like getting into it because I know we're not going to see eye to eye. That's what happened here. So moving forward, he says, why don't you explain to me what's wrong with it? Plain dumb. I hate the whole plain dumb, and he's just doing the tactic of, well, you tell me what's wrong. I'm going to give you all the homework to do. Yeah, started to respond like, well, all those downvotes and comments, pretty clear what the problem is, but then he will say, see, you can't even tell me what's wrong. So you got to go, okay, I got to spell it out for you. And before I just ask, because there's only one way where I would allow this review to be, I wouldn't say even okay, I would say it was a wrong approach, but it's an approach I understand where the reviewer would be coming from, is if they did this. So I responded back, let me ask this. Was the review intended to compare it to Persona throughout? Because IGN assumes most people watching the review never touched an SMT game but had played Persona. So that makes sense. Like, hey, she kept bringing up Persona like we've played it, but she also explained what SMT was like we never played an SMT game. That would have been okay. I still think it would have been the wrong approach just because you're playing your audience as dumb motherfuckers. But I understand that approach. I understand that angle. And he comes back, well, what's wrong with comparing SMT to Persona? They're part of the same series as I understand it. Well, I hope you know, like, being at IGN, I would hope you know, they're not the same series. They're different. Why wouldn't you compare, for instance, Call of Duty to Battlefield? Is that off limits as well? See, he's just playing dumb. He's playing dumb. He's thinking I'm dumb. Like, I'm not saying don't compare. I'm just saying, like, yeah, you went way overboard with the comparisons to where people think it's laughably bad. I think it's laughably bad. If you don't see that, I can understand you listening or reading the review and running with it and then going, okay, yeah, I see why people are mad here. It's not like they have to put out a tweet or anything saying they effed up. But, you know, in this situation where you're reaching out to me, you could say, okay, I see that. I see where you're coming from. I respect that. And then maybe explaining why it went about that way. And I would have been fine. I would have been like, okay. I don't agree with how it went, but I see your thinking. But he's playing dumb. He's thinking, you know, he's putting all the homework on me because he has no problem with it, which that's why I've already written them off. I've written them off. It's IGN. I can't remember the last review I went, wow, that was a good review. Maybe the Forza Horizon 5. That got a 10 out of 10. But maybe they keep comparing it. It's 10 out of 10, but it's not as good as Gran Turismo. But yeah, of course you would compare Call of Duty to Battlefield. That makes sense. Those are both like 1-to-1. They're very similar, even gameplay. Shin Megami Tensei 5 and Persona, I can see maybe somebody needing to understand the difference because they're both JRPGs made from Atlas. But that's something you quickly explain in a review saying, hey, whereas Persona is more about story and the characters, Shin Megami Tensei is about the gameplay and collecting and fusing demons. That's the hook. And then you go on and review Shin Megami Tensei 5 on its own merits. Which is, I think, what I said here. Yep, most reviewers brought up Persona, but did a better job reviewing SMT5 on its own merits. Lots of people, including myself, see IGN's review of SMT5 as someone wishing it was Persona and not fully understanding what a SMT game is. It's more comparable to Pokemon than Persona. Then he responds, she compared it to Pokemon as well. She said it was a great game, but that she liked the story and characters of Persona, another JRPG with turn-based combat, a bit better. I don't see why that's a problem. Well, And this is where I'm like, well, she said it's a great game, but kept negatively comparing it to Persona. I just think it's bad writing. That's all. I took technical writing in college. I'm not a writer, but I understand just basic stuff. Like, all right, if you're giving it a grade, explain why it's great. Stop bringing up why it's not great. It's confusing. You're confusing the audience. And I think he's seeing like, well, it's great. She said this, this, and this to cover that it's great. But he's leaving off all the parts where she kept bringing up Persona and stating that it's worse than that. You know? It's a little too much negative in a great 8 out of 10 game. And you keep bringing up Persona. You just come off as very, very shallow. Just very, your extent of gaming knowledge is Persona and probably Call of Duty. That's IGN. And I probably shouldn't expect more. So I don't see why a problem. Again, the problem, you don't see them 19,000 downvotes and the shit ton of negative comments that all says the same thing over and over. Quit comparing it to Persona. Stop. But he doesn't see that, which that just bothers me from, I'll get to that in a second. So I respond, re-listening to it again, I hear all that. So I'm just trying to make it clear, like, yeah, I hear all that. It's Persona being peppered throughout the review as a reminder of the game it isn't. The audience knows this. So I have to think you're playing to an audience who expects Persona because it's made by Atlas. If so, I'll fall back. Again, I'm just bringing it up. Hey, if that's your angle with this review, I think you got it wrong, but I can respect going with that approach. That's just something you took a swing and you missed. If I just got that type of confirmation, I would have been like, okay, this video will be different. I would have come out like, hey, yo, IGN, I talked to someone from IGN. They understand the feedback and everything coming from the Shin Megami Tensei 5. They explained to me that they think a lot of the viewers would have played Persona and not understand what Shin Megami Tensei 5 is, and that's why it was brought up a lot. Like, they don't even have to, like, really necessarily bring up, like, oh, we effed up here, but just explain that was the angle. He comes back to me, or she just likes Persona and thinks these two games are comparable. It's not really some grand strategy thing. It's just what she was thinking when she played it. Okay, I mean, obviously that's how they review. I mean, is that how I review? Do I have an angle? Yeah, I mean, maybe not so much an angle, but like, I try to think about the audience when I review games. I don't review games that well. I would never be hired at IGN, or I shouldn't even do reviews to begin with. But I think as a writer, yeah, you should have a little bit more foresight into, all right, who's reading this? What type of viewer or reader is going to be listening to this review? And that's where you go like, all right, am I going to get a lot of people who only play Persona that is going to read this review on Shin Megami Tensei 5 and maybe I should bring up the comparisons? Or maybe I'm going to get a lot of people who understand that Shin Megami Tensei 5 is its own game and maybe not really bring up Persona? Which I think would have been the correct way to go. I still think bring up Persona, just not the way you do it in this review where it's just every other sentence. It's not Persona, the music's not good. Blah, blah, blah. Like, the music one, that's the one that killed me. I'm like, oh God, stop. No music in any video game is as good as Persona. It's just, it ain't gonna happen. But yeah, he's just thinking that I'm thinking like, oh, reviewers come up with a plan and everything. Like, you probably should have something. You should probably think these things out. Technical writing in college. I went to ASU, so I don't have much to say there, but the one thing they nailed down is think about your audience. Who is the audience you're speaking to? And IGN, he just said it right here. There's no audience in mind. It's just her saying, or she just likes Persona and thinks these two games are comparable. It's not really some grand strategy thing. It's just what she was thinking when she played it. Okay. So, and here's another issue. It's like, okay, we need to know who this person is. Because it's IGN reviewing Shin Megami Tensei 5. It's a corporate. We're getting IGN that wishes Shin Megami Tensei was a lot like Persona. That's how the review read. Now, let's say Game Over Greggy, who used to work at IGN, reviewed Shin Megami Tensei 5 and kept bringing up Persona like this reviewer did. I think we would have gave a lot of leash to that review because we know who he is. We know his personality. We know how much he loves Persona. And he would get more of a pass. Because I think it would be fun. Oh, what does someone who really loves Persona think of Shin Megami Tensei 5? Somebody that we know. Because part of that, why we love reviews from YouTubers that we know and follow is we know that person as a human being. We all have that friend. We like to play new songs and show new games and everything and just like, oh, this person likes this game. My buddy likes this. Let's see how they like this game. And then they'd be like, oh, it's not like this. It's not like that. I can respect that. But when it's just IGN, corporate entity, he had to remind me that this was a woman reviewing it when the reviewer voice was male. So she didn't do the voiceover work. I think that's the issue right there. Like if it was maybe Ryan McCaffrey, maybe would have gave a little bit more leash. I still don't think it would have been a great review. It's just how it's presented and just how you say it. Just how you say things. I came back with, so when a video is getting downvoted like this one and the comments are upset by the constant comparisons to Persona, is there any coaching? Like any job I've had, negative feedback always led to coaching or opportunities, as they call it. And I don't think he's going to get back to me there. It's going to be, he'll be like either, oh, of course there is, and then just leave it at that, or I think he's done with me. Maybe. It's late at night. Maybe I'll wake up to something. But yeah, that's what pisses me off the most, especially with games journalism, is just how much they fuck up. Like, the problem is when they fuck up, they get a lot of engagement, which is good for their numbers. Because everyone's like, I do it. Like, here, let's check out this review. It sucks. And to them, it's like, it's got to be confusing. Well, we put out a bad review so bad that people keep clicking on it, checking it out, and engaging with it. So we're doing something right here because it's bringing in money. But in fact, it's your credibility. I mean, this is how you become a joke. This is how you become Kotaku. You're a joke. IGN is already a joke. And we saw the reaction from IGN when Philip Mewson plagiarized, just how it messed up their credibility. And that's why a lot of IGN staffers were pissed off. I would be pissed off. But when your video gets downvoted out the ass and all the comments tell you exactly what's wrong and you just come back with, fine with us. That was a great review. Perfect. You're losing credibility. You just are. I mean, hey, like I said, you do you. Hey, I look forward to this person reviewing Persona 6. And again, it would have been an easy fix. An easy fix. Just something like in just retrospect. Like, yeah, we missed a mark here. Seems like people are a little upset with the constant bringing up a Persona. Maybe we should have just went light there on the Persona comparisons. That's all. And hey, maybe they did have that conversation. They're just not going to admit it to me. Just because of the way this back and forth is going. But, I don't know. Just very interesting. I don't like getting into these things on Twitter, but really get into the mind of IGN. I found pretty fascinating. Pretty fascinating. Just really what I got from it is it's IGN. I assume, like, I joked with somebody in a comment, like how did they pick? Someone asked, like, how did they pick who to review this game? And I did like a little skit where basically I play Dan Stapleton or whoever is in charge of giving out reviews. All right, who wants to review Shin Megami Tensei 5? And all the reviewers are like, Shin Megami what? And Dan Stapleton. I think I put IGN review manager. It's basically Persona. And the Shin Megami Tensei 5 reviewer stood up. Oh, me. I love Persona. Like, that's how I envisioned. That's how I envisioned the process. I mean, I hope it is that way. I hope that's how the reviews work. They don't just hand it out to just random people. I assume they get a review code, and Dan Stapleton here goes, hey, who wants to review this game? And somebody goes, hey, I'll review it. And then I think it's on them to make sure they don't disrespect the audience. I think that review was just, I want to say disrespectful. That's a little too harsh. Just a little, found the audience a little too dumb. Just a little bit dumb. Dumber than what we are. We know what a Shin Megami Tensei game is. You didn't need to go that crazy with the comparisons. That's all. Hey, this is just a YouTube review. Maybe the written review is getting so much praise and maybe I look dumb. Maybe it's like, oh, this is the best review ever. 10 out of 10, 9.8 out of 10 in terms of reviews done by IGN. But yeah, obviously, I don't know. That's the only thing that bugs me is just, I've just worked every job I've had. Every job, even like shit that goes wrong, I still get coached. That wasn't even my fault. And just to give out that image that, no, everything's fine. It's just the whole millennial-like mentality. Can't do no wrong. Like, are people scared of coaching? People scared of negative feedback at IGN? I mean, I gotta assume they're just like, I would assume if I were to get a job at IGN, I feel like my first day I would just be surprised at just how corporate, like a regular company it is. Oh, I got to adhere to my schedule. I got to clock in on time. I got to take my lunches on time. I get coaching twice a week. I got to do my reviews. I feel like I would be surprised. I guess I wouldn't because that's what I would expect going in. But I feel like it's more like that than just a bunch of college-age kids in a room going, hey, I'm going to review this game and whatever I give it, who cares? Because we're all living in San Francisco and have a good time. Whoopee! Let's go shit on the sidewalk. All right. I'm being a little too harsh. Hey, shout out to Dan Stapleton. Taking his time tonight. He could have been anywhere in the world, but he's talking to me who has few followers. And I think, I don't think we saw eye to eye, but I think him reaching out to me about this review, him holding his ground, I really do think he probably is taking away something like, yeah, that review probably could have gone different. I got to assume the goodness in people. I got to assume that, hey, you're IGN. You're still around after what? Every other company has shot the bed, went out of business. Yeah, I got to assume there's round tables and coachings, and there's got to be a discussion about this review because it just wasn't good. Not saying get the reviewer in trouble. We call it failing forward at my job. Hey, you did this wrong, but guess what? We're going to teach you to get better, and you're going to do better. I hate it. I hate it. Because I was like, all right, I fucked up. Just say it, I fucked up. Like, I know I'm a millennial, but I'm not that type of millennial. I'm pre-1990 millennial. Like, yeah, I was still getting yelled at. I was still getting berated. I got spankings. Failing forwards, opportunities. All right, I'm done here. I'll talk to you guys later. Later.